Hello, my name is Jason Berger. I'm a 47-year-old disabled retired police officer from the city of Independence in Northeast Ohio. I was hired in 1998 by the village of Valley View, which is right next door to Independence, just across the Cog River. I actually grew up in Valley View. Very small department, and I left Valley View in '04 to go to Independence. I was involved in my first shooting in Valley View, actually at this place right here, Dina's. And when I left Valley View to go to Independence, I had known a lot of the guys. Actually, my FTOs, field training officers, I had more time on the road than three of the four that I had there. Nonetheless, when I was going through field training, all the FTOs want to know about my shooting. Lo and behold, month and a half on the job, I'm on 77, and I call out a plate, heading northbound, ironically right behind Cog Heights High School, and I run the plate ABC 123, and dispatch comes back with a indicator that every officer knows in that department that I've got a felony traffic stop. And every officer knows what a felony traffic stop is. So, it came back as a stolen vehicle, entered at gunpoint, stolen from Akron. So, we get up in the car. Long story short, we give way to a chase, and check that. The best school I ever went to was called a Street Survival Tactical Shooting School. The instructor had credentials off the charts, and he made two statements that really stuck with me. The first one is, humans are the only animals on the planet that does not trust their gut instinct. Every other animal, when their gut tells them something wrong, they're gone to live another day. Humans, cops in particular, want to always look, investigate. It's your job to. But the last time I checked, we get paid by the hour. And I see these TV shows and these movies, and these cops go run up on these cars, and they're sitting ducks. Evaluate, wait, surround the car or the situation, and then approach it calmly. Not all haphazardly wild maniacs like you're not trained. So, that's basically what we did. And the windows were tinted. I could not see inside. The other two officers are supposed to stay back because I'm contact, they're cover, and they went on the passenger side. Why we approached that vehicle, I have no idea. But I did make it known 3 days later when I came back to work that there was no reason we came up on that vehicle the way we did. And the senior FTO, Brian, was shaking his head, telling me, I know exactly. I said, let me get this off my chest. I said, I know I'm new here. I said, but this is bullshit. I said, what the fuck were we thinking? We're not a bunch of green kids right out of the academy. And what do we know? We knew it was stolen by gunpoint. We know they're not complying to our verbal commands. We know we can't see inside the vehicle because the windows are tinted. And then when I walked up to the driver's side and got to the driver's side rear door, I've never ever had the hair on the back of my neck stand back up. So the instructor says, when you come up on a situation, whether it's a traffic stop or a domestic or whatever the situation is, and your gut tells you to get out of there, or the hair in the back of your neck stands up, or your spidey senses start tingling, get the hell out of there. Last time I checked, we get paid by the hour. Well, lo and behold, we did the exact opposite, knowing full well. So, I get up to the driver's side rear door, and I've never had the hair on the back of my neck ever stand up in my life. And all I pictured was this guy had a gun at my head at the back window. So I start backing up, and I get to the back bumper and screaming the whole time, show me your hand, shut off the car. And the other two guys are on the passenger side, and every one of those FTOs that asked me about that first shooting I was involved in, and I said my only regret was that I didn't put a bullet in the guy's head, which I had every right to. So here we are on 77 at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I hear a gunshot, and the wheels start spinning on this S10 Blazer, and they start taking off northbound on 77. I see my FTO falling backwards, so I come right up, boom, boom. And Greg gets up, comes running back to the cruiser, and we get a northbound chase. Nonetheless, we go. I'll finish that story. So, apparently, Brian has been on many northbound chases, and he knows that they exit at Grant, and they get right back on the freeway because they blow through the red light. I cannot blow through red light, so there I look, stop, check it, see if it's clear, then go. Well, now Brian is now lead, and he's on the radio saying, exit Fleet, east on Fleet, north on 57, driver and passenger bailed. So I've got my foot through the floorboards, and those old Crown Vics, Interceptor engines, junk. They cannot get out of their own shadows. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to drive one of those Chargers. I'm told those Chargers fly, 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder. They really move. Nonetheless, when I finally got there, Brian's got the backseat passenger out, and he's saying he's shot in the head, and we're telling him bullshit. Well, son of a bitch, if he didn't have a bullet in his head, he's still got a bullet in his head today. So, called Cleveland, called Newbrook, called all the departments out, and never found the driver and front seat passenger. Backseat passenger gave up the driver, and I was told 2 weeks later he was involved in a shootout with Cleveland and got shot in the stomach. Now, mind you, this kid was only 17 years old and had a felony rap sheet that was a laundry list long. So, 3 days later, come back to work, and I said, I'm still in field training. I'm only on the job a month and a half. And I said, hey, what's going on today? They said, you have to learn the maps. So, you're going to test in the morning, and then you'll be on your own. So, that's about the rest that I recall, and the rest I can tell you is because I was told this. So, we're on 12-hour shifts, so 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. At around 10 after 6 in the morning, Sergeant Brad tells the night shift guys, the day shift Sergeant Brad tells the night shift guys, go ahead and take off. We'll handle any calls that come your way. Well, all the night shifts left except for me. And again, I can only tell you this because I asked this after the fact. They said I was staring at the squad room door, which is loaded with bolos, which is be on the lookout, officer training schools, side jobs, different notifications. And they said I was just studying it like super intensely. And the one officer, canine cop, says, hey Jace, how's it going? And I don't respond to him. He says, you okay? No response. He says, would you look at me when I'm talking to you? Nothing. So another officer says, hey Berger, my last name, would you look at Jimmy when he's talking to you? Again, nothing. And Jimmy, I was told, is going to bust my balls, and he says, well, I get it. You guys from the valley are too good for up here on the hill. No response. And then he's like, hey, are you okay? And they said I turned around once, twice, 3, 5 times. They thought I was joking around. My eyes rolled back in my head. Boom. Down I go on the terrazzo floor, clonk my head, full grand mal seizure out of nowhere. This next part I kind of do remember. I was on the stretcher, and the two paramedics are pushing me out to the ambulance, and Brad's asking me the correct questions, but in the wrong fashion. Do you know where you're at? And I was laughing hysterically. I could not stop laughing. And I said, yeah, I know where I'm at. And he's looking at the medics like, that's good. He's like, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Again, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. He goes, okay, who am I? I said, I don't know. And they go, Brad, we gotta go. He's like, no, this guy's a ball buster. I've known him my whole life. I've known Brad over 35 years. And he goes, what's my name? And again, just hysterically laughing. And they're all laughing because it's contagious. So I get rushed to Marymount, local hospital. They life flight me to the clinic. I'm in there about a week, and they diagnosed me with a very rare form of brain cancer called primary central nervous system lymphoma, primary CNS lymphoma. Generally affects people with AIDS, HIV, have had an organ transplant, or elderly that will make them all immune compromised. I have none of this. So for me to get this disease is very rare. This disease generally starts in the eyes and moves to the brain, where mine went opposite from the brain to the eyes, and I'm completely blind in my left eye. It's called NLP, no light perception. You can shine the brightest light you want in my left eye, and I see absolutely no light. Consequently, my right eye takes in all the light, so it's very, very difficult with bright lights or sunny days or my low light vision is horrible. I don't drive at night. If it's raining out, I won't drive. And it's really, really aggravating and frustrating because prior to all this, my vision was better than 20/20. I had above average hand-eye coordination. Actually, my first week on the job, August-ish, 1998, I'm on day shift, and I get a phone call from that same sergeant, Brad, at Independence. Hey, tell me work till 2:30. What's up? We're out at Warren, Ohio, in the Police and Fire Olympics. Get out here. We need you. So I get off at 2:30. I grab my softball bat and my glove, and I head out to Warren, Ohio. Lo and behold, we end up winning the Police and Fire Olympics. Got a gold medal. I got picked to play on this travel team, which was comprised of hand-picked officers all over the state of Ohio, and we would travel all over the nation. They paid for our airfare, our hotels, our rental cars, and we'd play in these tournaments to raise money for the families of fallen officers. And it's not like we were a bunch of drunks going out and playing softball on Sunday mornings. This was very competitive, and we were actually really competitive. We won a silver and 2 gold medals in the Police and Fire Olympics. One of the guys I met from there was a buddy of mine who's a Pepper Pike officer. His name's Jason also. And he's a huge hunter. I like to hunt, and we just really hit it off. And I got invited to go down to Salt Fork, Ohio, to go to deer camp with him and his uncles and his cousins, which they've been doing since he was a teen. So I got to meet these really, really cool guys. And his uncle Rick, who's now passed away, was a really, really smart blue-collar guy. And he really knew the system. So after I got sick, before my vision went, I went down for gun season down in Southern Ohio. And he asked me, he says, hey, I got to assume you paid into Social Security before you were a cop. I said, I've been working since I was 14. He says, do yourself a favor, call down to Social Security and ask them for the paperwork. They're probably going to tell you you don't qualify, but just be persistent, be cordial, and make sure you get that paperwork. And when you do, make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. So I called down to Social Security, get this nice gentleman on the phone. He says, I'm sorry you don't qualify. I said, well, can you send me the paperwork? He says, I can, but it's just going to waste your time and ink on your pens. I said, well, that's actually, I've got a solution for that. I've got nothing but time on my hands, and I just went to the store and bought a shit ton of pens. And he started laughing. So he sent it down. I crossed my T's and I dot my I's, and I sent it and had people proofread it. And lo and behold, I get a check from Social Security every month. So I'm actually making more money now being disabled than I was when I was working. The blessings that I've gotten that have come my way since this diagnosis have been off the charts. So I was married. It was short-lived. I wasn't even married a year, and so I went down for the count with the seizure September 27th, 2004. I got married November 8th, 2003. It wasn't even a year, and here I am. And the after effects, I was like, I had threats. I was swearing like crazy. I was rude. I was aggressive. I'm all jacked up on these. I was on Decadron, which is, I'm told, I don't know how true it is, I never checked it out. Decadron allegedly is 5 times stronger than prednisone, and it really makes the individual that's on it crazy. I ballooned up to 238 pounds, voracious appetite, could not stop eating, couldn't sleep. I remember getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and just out of it, had no business driving. I drive to the 24-hour Super K, and this poor bastard's going around buffing the floors, and here I am chasing him down with this, or following with this shopping cart loaded to the gills with these nasty looking Kmart shirts that in my mind were dynamite. So when I get home, my wife at the time, Jen, says, what's with the shirts? I said, I went shopping. She says, take them back. I said, why? She goes, where'd you get them at? I said, Kmart. She goes, because they're Kmart shirts. That's why you take them back. So I took them back. And so at our 1-year wedding anniversary, we couldn't go anywhere nice because I was so out of it. So we just went to, I think it was Roadhouse or Longhorn Steakhouse on Rockside in Independence. And I really have no sense of time. So I go to the bathroom, and what I think is 30 seconds, my ex sticks her head in the men's room door and says, hey, everything okay? You've been in there a while. I said, yeah, about a minute. Again, I think 30 seconds goes by, and she's in the men's room. She says, do you think it's odd? You've been in the men's room over half an hour? And I come back and say, do you think it's odd? You're in the men's room of a public restaurant? Fair enough. So again, she comes back and, can you, do you think you've been in there? Do you think it's odd? You've been in there almost 45 minutes? And I blow my lid and I yell, would you let me take a fucking shit? So the next thing I know, my sergeant Brad shows up with my assistant chief, John. And again, I think I'm in there 30 seconds. And he says, hey, how's it going? Or what are you doing? Jen says, you've been in there a while. I said, I'm shooting baskets. You want to play? And my assistant chief was not digging that at all. So Brad tells him again that I'm a ball buster, and he comes back again, what I thought was 30 seconds, and he comes back in, he's a big guy, he looks over the stall. He says, Jace, did you go to the bathroom? I said, no. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah. He said, are you 100% sure that nothing came out? I said, yeah. Why? He said, because your pants are even down, and you've been in here over an hour. So here I am sitting on this toilet with my pants up, and he says, come on, get out of there. And I was so out of it, he had to physically or verbally talk me through it. He goes, Jace, stand up now. So I stood up. He goes, open the lock. And I'm looking at him like a zombie. He says, extend your left hand and grab the knob. So I did that. And he goes, now open the door. And I open the door, and we go walking out, and the whole restaurant's looking at me, and I start MFing them up and down. Jen's bawling her eyes out. So they escort me outside, and I get in the vehicle, and we start driving to a church called St. Charles in Parma. I go, where are we going? She goes, I want to try this out or check this out. So we go inside this church. There's maybe 30, 40 people there, and there's a gentleman up there laying hands on people. Turns out, I later found out it was Dr. Isam Nimi. He's this local faith healer. And I'm at the back of the church again. This is how out of it. I would never talk like this. I start MFing the whole church up and down. They're all snake oil salesmen. So I'm watching these people, and they're going down like a sack of potatoes. He lays hands on I'm telling you, you're all snake oil salesmen. You're full of shit. So then nobody told Dr. Nimi while I was there. And I walk up to him, and as I walk up to him, his wife is to the right of me. He's directly in front of me, as this little Irish nun's to the left of me. And as I start walking up there, the wife's losing her balance and falling down. And I look at her and I says, that is rich. I said, hey, doc, why don't you lay hands on this broad? She needs help. And she grabs me by the face and turns it and says, you need to focus on the crucifix. So I'd been watching people up there 3-4 minutes. I was well over 10 minutes. And he goes right up to my head and starts praying. After about 10 minutes, he looks up at me and says, you're going to be fine. Your brain tumor's going. Now, mind you, nobody told me while I was there. He went right up to my head and then tells me, your brain tumor's gone. So I smack him on the shoulder and say, okay, doc, you take it easy. So I turn around, and a ton of my ex-coworkers from Valley View and Independence are there with their wives and kids and families all praying for me. So Jen comes up to me, my ex-wife, and says, hey, what do you say? I said, he said my fucking tumor's gone. Let's get the fuck out of this shithole. Well, so then all of a sudden, the Irish nun comes up, running up. She says, excuse me, may I ask you what brought you here? Again, to a nun. I would never, ever speak like this. I go, I don't know, sister. What the fuck brought you here? And she looks at Jen. She goes, what's going on? She says, well, obviously he's not himself. He was diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer. His prognosis is not good. We don't know what to do. She says, what's special about today? She goes, well, today's our 1-year wedding anniversary. She said, I knew a miracle was going to happen today. It happened with your husband. Please tell me what the doctor says. So I go in to see my Dr. Purebloom, who I've been seeing for the last 14 plus years, and he looks like he saw a ghost. He says, how do you feel? I said, I'm fucking great, doc. How do you feel? And he says, because I'm still really out of it. And he says, I've never seen this in my practice or heard of this with this disease. This is going down in history. I said, okay, what's going on? So he shows me last month's MRI, and he shows me this morning's MRI. Last month, if you see an MRI of the brain, it looks like butterfly wings. you can't see it. It's all covered in tumor. It's all white. The one this morning is completely clear. Completely. And I said, where did it go? He said, it's gone. Smack him on the shoulder. Okay, doc, no more. He's like, no, we're still going to do the full treatment. 24 rounds of this very invasive blood-brain barrier disruption. I'll sidebar for a minute on that. So they no longer do that anymore. Blood-brain barrier disruption is exactly what it sounds like. They go up the right femoral artery, they go all the way up in the brain, inject a chemical called mannitol. Mannitol drops the blood-brain barrier. So for layman's terms, your brain's force field is now down. They go up that same femoral artery, inject chemo directly into the brain. They pick one of the 4 ventricles. The next day, they pick one of the 3 they didn't pick on the first day, do that same procedure. The problem with that procedure is, apparently, I wake up extremely early out of anesthesia. And the first day it happened, I woke up gagging on the tube. Yank the tube out. I say, I never want that to happen again. The next day 2, I wake up early again, and I'm gagging, and I go to yank it out, and they got me strapped to the damn bed. Now I'm vomiting, and they're vacuuming out the vomit, and I can't do anything. And I can hear them say, you're fine. You can breathe. You're going to be fine. So I tell Jen, I go, this is what's happened. So she asks the nurse practitioner, Nancy, and she lies to Jen. She goes, that's not happening. So then about, I don't know, maybe a month or so later, I woke up one day and I said, Jen, I'm better. She goes, what do you mean? I go, I know yesterday I was messed up and I'm better now. She goes, you seem a lot more with it. I go, I'm telling you, I'm better. And it's just the brain's so fragile, but it's so incredible that it can go from so bad to so good relatively quickly. So then, that I can recall, that I can recall 14 of the 20 times I had blood-brain barrier disruption, I woke up early vomiting and gagging on that tube. And one time it actually, so I'd go in on Monday, get out on Thursday, and this particular Friday morning, I got up about 4 o'clock in the morning, freezing, shivering. And it was in summertime, so I jacked the heat up, I put a blanket on me, and Jen is going back and forth from the kitchen to the bathroom, getting ready for work, and she asks me, what are you doing today? I said, nothing. She goes, well, it's about time you slow down. You've been going ever since you got out of the hospital, and you've got 2 open wounds in your femoral arteries. You can't be doing that. I said, yeah, and I'm shivering on the couch. Well, she didn't notice that. And then it dawns on her, and she goes, hey, wait a second. You don't slow down for anything. What's going on? I said, I don't feel well. She goes, well, I got to get to work. If anything happens, give me a call. She goes, why don't you go back to bed? So I go back to bed, and I go to lay down real gingerly, real slowly, and as soon as my back hits the bed, it was like somebody took a ball bat and blasted the wind out of me. Now I'm short breathing it, you know? And I call 911. My ex-mother-in-law, Jen's mom, is a dispatcher. Answers the phone. 911, what's your emergency? I said, I'm having trouble breathing, send a squad here. So, again, very fortunate. A buddy of mine was a chief of fire here in Brooklyn Heights, where I live. And he said, Jace, my guys will take you anywhere you need to go. So, these 2 guys, bizarre, I didn't know them. They were probably his buddies from Parma Fire. I'm sure they were. And they said, Marymount or Parma? I said, nah. I said, I got to go to the clinic. Nah, we don't go there. I said, Mike Lasky said, okay, you're the guy. So they take me down there, and I don't know if they took Carnegie or Chester, but whatever road they took, it was either under construction or needed to get paved because they hit every pothole there was. And every time it hit me, it was horrible. So I go to ER at the Cleveland Clinic, and long story shorter is I was diagnosed with aspirated pneumonia. The vomit got in my lungs and caused aspirated pneumonia, which I had no idea was that painful. It was horrible. So I'm in the hospital for another week getting antibiotics. That clears up. So I questioned the nurse practitioner. I said, "Hey, are you in the operating room when I'm getting this blood-brain barrier disruption?" She goes, "Oh yeah." I said, "Are you telling me? Is it you telling me when I'm vomiting and they're vacuuming out the vomit that I can breathe and you're gonna be fine?" And her eyes get like saucers. She goes, "How do you remember that?" I said, "'Cause I'm awake." She goes, "Well, you're not supposed to." I said, "But I do." "And you're lying to me, my wife?" I go, You're fired." She goes, "You can't fire me." I go, "I just did. You're gone." She says, "I'm the only whatever." I go, "I don't give a shit. You're gone." So I got to treatment 20 of a total of 24 I was supposed to get to, and I had a lot of discussion with my family and my wife at the time and her family, and I said, I feel like when I get put under for brain cancer, a terminal brain cancer, that I'm going to die or not wake up on that table. I said, that's a fear that I do not want to face every month. And I said, I'm requesting to stop treatment. And Dr. Peerboom, who is a sweetheart of a man, says, well, we really like to go the full 24, but you have had a lot of trouble with anesthesia, and your MRIs have been clear this whole time. So if you wanted to stop, I wouldn't hold it against you. So I stopped. And I was golden for about 2 years. And so Independence Police Department could have said, sayonara, you're out of here. You didn't make it through your field training program. You didn't make it through probation, and you're out. They put me on light duty. They put me in the detective bureau. I went from light duty, which was just doing busy work, cleaning up the attic, helping out the IT guy, tearing apart computers. And then I got put in the detective bureau. And I was doing all the shit that nobody else wanted to do. I was taking the reports at the window, which the guys on the road are happy they didn't have to get off the road. If somebody gets a stolen cell phone, they have to make a report out. And then on Thursdays, that department would do fingerprinting, and I would fingerprint everybody. And then I actually really liked the detective side of policing. You're not rolling around dealing with the element day in and day out. You deal with them in the morning. Generally speaking, the fight of them is out. The drunk and drugs have worn off, and they're pretty docile. So then I'm on light duty now for 2 years, and about a month in, 2 months in, I get my paycheck, and it says full 80 hours. So I go to HR, and I said, hey, I don't ever want to be accused of stealing from the city. I said, I never worked 80 hours. I got chemo this week. There's no way I got 80 hours. So I don't know how this glitch happened, but here it is. And she says, oh, honey, didn't anybody tell you? I said, tell me what? She hands me 3 sheets of paper. All these names, all these numbers. I said, I recognize some of them, but not all of them. I said, what is this? She said not only did the police department, the fire department, service department, and every city employee donated sick time to you. I'm not an emotional guy, or I was an emotional. I'm a wreck now. After this last diagnosis, I bawl at the drop of a hat. I said, is this normal? She said, we've never done this before. I said, well, why did they do it for me? And she said, your reputation preceded you as being such a quality individual, coming from a neighboring department, starting your life off, just married. Jen was pregnant at the time, and she lost 2 babies actually. Biggest regret is not having kids, but unfortunately, the kids I grew up with are not having kids, and all their kids have health issues. That's a whole different sidebar and a whole nother video. But I had a full paycheck for 2 years. That's unreal. So at the 2-year mark, my chief, who was awesome, Chief Dugan, says, hey, you're doing a great job, and we'd love to keep you around, but we can't keep you around on light duty forever. So either you come back to work or you're taking disability. I said, I fully understand, and I appreciate all that you've done for me. So I go to my doctor with this sheet of paper that's going to clear me for duty or not. And Jen and I go to the hospital, and I asked the nurse practitioner, the other nurse practitioner, because Nancy was no longer there, and I said, hey, do you think Dr. Peerboom will clear me for duty? She goes, I doubt it. You got a port in your chest, you got a port in your, it's called an Ommaya reservoir in my head. It's like, I tell people, if you recall the old tennis shoe called the Reebok pump, where you'd pump up the tongue of the shoe to make it tighter, I got a little diaphragm in here. And if you see on the MRI, there's a line that goes in between the skull and the brain in the floating CSF, cerebral spinal fluid. And they draw off of that instead of doing a lumbar punch, which it's way, way easier and way less painful. So if that gets ripped out or punctured or popped or damaged, I'm not long for this world after that. It's not a good situation. So I go into the meeting. She's like, I really doubt he's going to sign off. So Dr. Peerboom comes in, and he's like, MRI's all clear again. You're looking great. You seem vibrant, and seems like you got your wits about you again, and seems like you're doing really well. I said, yeah. I said, well enough to go back to work? His response blew me away. He says, I don't see why not. I said, what? Are you kidding me? He goes, oh, you got some kind of paperwork? Well, I left the paperwork in the car. And you could see through the window across the parking lot was the parking garage. I said, I parked over there. I said, I'll be right back. So I skedaddled across the parking lot, up the stairwell to the 6th floor, grabbed the paperwork, ran all the way back. I go, here you go. He said, you ran from here to there and got back here that fast? I said, yeah. He said, then I see no problem. You go back to work. So I go back to the station, and I talked to the chief and the assistant chief, and I said, I got cleared. All the secretaries were all crying. All the guys were happy. And the head of the detective bureau, this guy named Dave, him and I got pretty tight. And Jen and I were looking at, this was my starter home that I'm currently in now, still is my